Good day, everyone. I am Vince, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone to today's webinar, Coaching versus Corrective Action, How to Manage Performance the Right Way. I want to introduce our presenter for today, Carolyn D. Riggins. Carolyn Riggins is the founder and owner of CDR Consulting Services, LLC, in Atlanta, Greater District, Georgia. For 35 years, Ms. Riggins worked in retail banking. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Carolyn.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. Let's dive into it. We're going to cover a lot of information. We're going to talk about the difference in coaching and corrective action, understanding the difference, because a lot of times we don't understand, and we want to make sure, we want to identify the gaps. We all know there is a gap. We just don't know how to do it. We don't know where, and we have to determine the root cause of it. Now, when it comes to coaching, we're going to talk about proactive development strategies. That's important as well, too. We're going to talk about the initiative of corrective actions. What are the triggers? What are the thresholds of them? I'm struggling to now conducting effective performance conversations. We're going to talk about documentations, compliance, how to protect the organization, and also building a culture of accountability. This is huge. All of this is important, and I want you to understand there's no judgment. Strong performance management creates. Okay, we're going to talk about this because I want you to know this. Now, when the leader manages, manage performance the weak way, or the wrong way, or the weaker way. We're waiting too long, without coaching. Now, the goal of this training is to make sure it's designed to help you as a leader. And I want you to understand when to coach, when to recognize corrective action is necessary. We're going to talk about these are the ultimate goals. I want you to understand that being professional, dealing with complaint conversations, documentation, all of this is the goal. And you may have your own goals. Okay, you write down your goals that you have, but the goal of this training is all of this and additional. So performance management, let's talk about this here because this is important, everybody. We need to understand as leaders, the reality is performance gaps are, tolerated. That means that we're tolerating it right now. That means that we're okay with it. What leaders are facing today, again, we're facing that fear. These are what the employees are experiencing, okay? So when you hesitate and you don't want to deal with the issues, dealing with the organization, it has a direct harm on your staff. Now, understanding the difference in coaching and versus corrective action. Let's dive more into it. Now, I want you to see this here because understanding the difference. And one of the things I love about, I'm going to share with you two things. Coaching tools. These are tools to help your team. This is going to make a difference in what you do as a leader. These are your boss move tools. Coaching defined. Now, again, as we said before, we're going to break this down because I really want you to understand this here. This is important. The corrective action, okay, there's a little more formal. This is where you're more official when you're starting to see some behaviors that are not being changed or correct. There's some policy issues that may have taken place and they're below standards and they're having some issues. You want to address this and you communicate it and they continue to, when coaching didn't work, and now we got to go to this here. Coaching, it's about the growth opportunity, the growth for that employee to make the changes. Believe it or not, it's a growth opportunity for you. Now, corrective action, you're holding them accountable. That's the difference. Now, identifying performance gaps and root causes. The type of performance gaps, you're going to have all kinds, okay? Now, when to coach and proactively develop, okay, let's talk about this. I hope this is helping a lot of you because I can tell you it is a lot. This is where you know when your coaching is working. Effective coaching framework. Now, coaching techniques that work. Again, be very specific about what you saw, what you observed, and give them feedback on it. Now, most common coaching failure, not following up, as I said before, when they initiate corrective action. Now, corrective actions become necessary. The key triggers for corrective action, this is somebody who's repeating performance issues. And then leadership accountability, delay action increases risk. Now, the consequences of inaction. Now, conduct an effective performance conversation. These are things that you definitely want to do. You want to have conversation because this is all of this regardless if it's coaching or corrective action, is still dealing with performance conversations. Let's talk about this. Now, the purpose of them is, this, you must approach this. Make sure that employees, whenever you're going to have a coaching session or a corrective action, it's about performance. Now, structured approach for a performance conversation. Now, the language that works and language to avoid. Now, timely manner, addressing the issues immediately, as I said before, and in documentation and compliance, protecting the organization. This is important. This is so important. We have to understand that we have to do documentation, whatever we're dealing with, a coaching or corrective action, whatever it may be. Just follow your organization for documentation. Documentation is not an option. It should never be an option for you. And what must be documented? Everybody has their own specifics. Look at your document. That's the most important thing to follow. Follow what it has on that documentation. And then documentation standards. Again, non-negotiable. Be factual for written documentation for coaching and for conversations and for corrective action. Here's just, an example here. Just talk about poor and effective documentation. And then compliance risk and organization protection. Just make sure you be consistent. Make sure you protect your organization. Lack of documentation puts your organization at compliance risk. Policies, violations, when it happens, you've got to address it. Retaliation, exposure, you cannot retaliate. Okay, that's not what they're used for. And then building a culture of accountability, you have to continue that. You have to continue to improve. And let's talk about that. And accountability starts with you. Now, being persistent is accountability talks about being clear, expectation, and consistent follow through. You've got to do that. That's required. Leadership role in building a culture of accountability, just set clear expectations, standards, and then continue to grow. Just continue for performance operating system. And then what happens without, we all know when there's no accountability. And then the impact on the employees, what happens is they become frustrated, confused, and in decision making and putting it all together. It's important to do that. Coaching and corrective action. And again, 2 diagnostic questions that determines your path. And then leadership, again, being consistent, building that trust, be standard across the entire board. And again, I leave this with you, just an assessment. You can ask yourself how you're doing. And the final, this is a challenge. Again, the risk of avoiding, and you want the opportunity to make sure that you don't put your organization at risk. I have it here for comparison for you to look at it, take some time. It shows. And then the final takeaway is coaching develops, corrective action enforce. Both are necessary. Again, thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolyn. That concludes the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.